Alright, it's time for a combo that kinda caught me off guard. The new Ranger Maces offer an incredible package of damage, crowd control, boons and barrier, as well as a unique mechanic that increases our damage and healing to others every so often. What I didn't expect was that combining these with the Untamed ambush attack would let us one-shot regular enemies and two-shot veterans. And the best part is that we get to do this twice every 9 seconds. And on top of that, the Untamed's innate survivability will let us go full offense on gear, skills and traits. So let's take a look. Skirmishing will grant us fury every time we swap weapons in combat, fall below 75% HP, as well as every 10 seconds passively. And we do get increased effects from this boon. Not only do we get 40% critical hit chance instead of the usual 25, but our critical strikes will also hit harder. Finally, we get some swiftness on weapon swap and vigor on dodge, which will refill our endurance faster, allowing for even more dodging. Although we barely need those with the amount of face tanking we can do. Next up is marksmanship, which grants us access to a second unique mechanic called opening strikes. Every time we and our pet land our first strikes in combat, we'll inflict 5 stacks of vulnerability, cripple, and are guaranteed to land a critical hit. And thanks to the Grandmaster trait, we'll regain opening strikes every time we get fury, which is gonna be pretty often considering the amount we're already getting from the skirmishing traits, and we're gonna pad this amount even further with our Warhorn 5 skill. Mace 3 and 5 will either stun or daze our enemies, which is not only great when fighting anything with a break bar, but the Moment of Clarity trait will make these last longer and increase the damage of the following attack by 50%. And with all of this excitement, it's easy to forget that Hunter's Gaze will provide us with stacks of might passively, so that we don't really have to worry about them or recharging Jade protocols every 2 hours for that matter. And that brings us to the Untamed, which turns our pet into a mean green killing machine and allows us to land up to 2 ambush attacks every 9 seconds, which will not only decimate anything in a straight line in front of us, but will also heal us for 20% of our HP and provide us with quickness. Being unleashed will come with yet another unique mechanic that will tie in with our mace skills and one of the relics available to us. But all you need to know for now is that every time we are unleashed, we will deal 25% increased damage, and every time our pet is unleashed, we'll take 25% less damage. The one trait you might want to consider swapping around, depending on the content you're playing, is the middle one. I generally stick with Enhancing Impact, which grants either quickness or stability every time we crowd control an enemy. But if you're fighting foes who tend to buff themselves, like the branded in Jahai, then Corrupting Vines will strip those boons for you. The utility skills you bring are up to you. If you want a passive approach, Signets are totally fine. Or if you want to provide more support to those around you, then Spirits will do the trick. But in the open world, I prefer those that grant me extra mobility. So my healing and elite skills of choice are Perilous Gift and Forest Fortification, which will both grant super speed whenever we are unleashed and stability or vigor whenever our pet is unleashed. On top of that, they'll also reduce incoming damage and in the case of the elite skill, grant us various other boons. Quickening Zephyr is a stun break that grants even more super speed as well as quickness, and Unnatural Traversal will let us teleport in a 900 range on top of granting us boons and inflicting vulnerability. The only skill which I would consider a staple for any Untamed build that does not grant extra mobility is Exploding Spores. This is a massive nuke on a 25 seconds cooldown, and any enemy hit by all spores will be knocked down, and thus take more damage from our marksmanship traits. In the footage, I'm running around in Marauder's gear with Runes of the Scholar, but if you only have a Berserker set and any other rune combination with either power or ferocity, those will work just as well. You're survivable enough to not have to invest in any toughness or vitality, but they can be nice when you're playing solo. In our weapons, we'll be using Sigils of Force and Impact, with the latter synergizing once more with all of the crowd control baked into our kit. And my relic of choice for this build is Norris, which will make us grow big and increase our damage, converts some to healing, and reduces our damage taken roughly every 30 seconds, or sometimes even faster when we can strip boons from our enemies. I mainly went with the relic because it mimics Mace's unique mechanic, but any other relic will work just fine. And let's talk about those Mace skills, because these are what will bring this whole build together. Every time you land a third attack in your auto attack chain or any of the other 4 skills, you'll get 1 stack of Nature Strength, or 2 when you're using Mace 5. At 6 stacks, you'll become enlarged, deal more damage, get a stack of stability, and heal others for a higher amount, as well as recharging all of your Mace skills. As for a rotation, you can simply use all of your skills off cooldown. But if you need crowd control, make sure to prioritize Mace 3 and 5, and keep in mind that Mace 2 will heal you, while Mace 4 provides you with some barrier. The one mechanic you will need to master is your ambush attack. Every 9 seconds you'll want to unleash to land one, weapon swap, and land a second one. This might seem daunting to remember at first, but once you realize your weapon swap cooldown is exactly 9 seconds, things will become much easier. And when you're enlarged, either through the Relic of Norris or Nature's Strength, ideally you'll want to be the one that's unleashed. But if this is your first time playing the Untamed, don't worry too much about that, try to get a feeling for all of the other synergies first. And that's basically it. Comments down below or on Discord, and hit the like and subscribe buttons before you go.